there's so much traction. Well, here we go again with another 911. Just love these cars, and who don't love a car like this? This is classic, this is just splendid. You just feel at home when you drive all these cars. And one thing that I just love about Porsche is that when you get into it, you're so anxious-free. You just know that everything works. There is nothing in particular that you need to take notice of more than just driving. Because everything feels tactile, qualitative, and it's just so firm. Everything is solid. And you got the start button on the left side here. Would like to have a key for that because it gives such a good mechanical feel when you turn that one. Putting this gear lever into drive and off you go. It's just so convenient. It frees up space down here. I like the look of this. I like these small knobs that you pull and the click that they give. You change the gears on the lovely paddles here. Just perfect in length. Not too small and not too long. You just reach them every time. And this new 8-speed PDK gearbox, well, optimized, better, smoother, and you can feel it. In low pace, you just don't feel it at all. And at higher speed, well, you can feel that it's just quick. Up to 6th gear, it has really been optimized for faster response. And the 7th and 8th gear, well, they're more like a overdrive gear, more overdrive ratio on these gears to save some fuel when on the long run. Because on the long run, this feels a lot more quiet now. You can feel that there's that urge of a 911 still underneath as soon as you get into it. This has also got the optional better power steering in it. It hasn't got the rear wheel steering on this one. You can choose that if you want, and it will turn in extremely quick, but just maneuvering it is just, as always, a pure pleasure. This gearbox has also got a little electric motor on it, so the delay is a lot more cut down when you push the accelerator. So at lower speeds, it gives even more torque. And you can feel that it is quicker. Just small inputs and it's on its toes. It feels like just driving in normal. It is quick. It's like it wants to change gear immediately when you push it a little harder. Hasn't it been splendid before? Yes, it has. And now it's even better. I mean, that's what you get in a Porsche. There might not be very much that differs in the design. It looks about the same in here. You got this new curved display, which that I immediately felt like, oh, all the clusters are gathered together. You can see them through this little hole here, through the steering wheel. So it's not that much of a change in design. Well, just small inputs to it. From the outside, it is practically the same in its looks. It's not like you go, wow, this feels very new. It doesn't. That new LED ramp from the back looks very muscular, very nice. The air intakes on the back with the ribbons are a bit newly designed as well. On this one, we also got this higher glossy tailpipes. It just looks very clean in its 911 suit, as always. And I think it's good that they're keeping it that way. But one day, you would like to see a little bigger of a change. But how are you gonna step away from that recipe of that iconic design? They need to be careful. They need to be careful, and they are. Conservative customers, conservative design department. That's just what it is, especially with the 911. But underneath, well, there is a lot new in this 992.2. So it's the facelifted version, refurbished, renewed, and it's through the half of its life cycle before it pops up a brand new 911. The button on the steering wheel is the same, and I really like how you can customize this cluster. If you want to go manual, you just click the M, and you got the knob here, which lets you run through the different steps: wet, normal, sport, and sport plus. And then you can set your dampers on the buttons here, or get into the menu and calibrate your own individual parameters. You have that growling sound from that 3-liter flat 6-cylinder engine. It just sounds great. It is twin turbo, so a lot of power in it, a lot of torque, but it's very direct now. It it doesn't feel like there is any turbo lag at all in this car. It is just simply amazing in that area. It's just become better and better and better. So there is nothing that you even need to talk about anymore. It's just there. It is just as direct as a non-aspirated one. So this base Carrera, the power is just more than well enough. It is sufficient. And I think it's just clean in a package like this. You know, you don't need to go for the middle levels. This is just more than well enough. 394 horsepower, 0 to 100 in 4.1 seconds. We got the Chrono Package, the Sport Chrono Package, and together with the launch control, it does 0 to 100 in 3.9 seconds and runs up to a top speed of 294 kilometers an hour. You can surely pass 300 kilometers an hour if you want to. The system is quick as usual. You got the widgets here. They're not too many. They are just big and their symbols, easy to run through. You also got the Sport Chrono, and in the Sport Chrono Pack you also got lap timer. You can analyze your track day driving, if you drive on certain tracks, what time you have. There's also a performance app which monitors your bar, how much pressure you have in your tires, the engine, how the graph shows Newton meters, how much brake you give, how much throttle you give, what type of drift you've been doing, how much you spin, and everything in between. So a very sophisticated app, that one. And that is good in a base Carrera. You should take this one to the track because you can floor it hard there. They're just meant to do that. And that's what I'm talking about, that you don't worry about anything. I've never encountered anything, nothing problematic at all, driving really, really hard on track or on country roads for longer sessions in these cars. They are just phenomenal there. And this one was no exception. So the consumption is about 10.5 liters, 10.2 to 11, and that's fairly good with this amount of power. So the introduction of this 992.2, well, it gets the base Carrera that we're driving right now, and it's the GTS with power over 500 horsepower, and that has got a hybrid system, which is very interesting. So we need to try that one out as well, because hybrid systems, we know what that does. Improves power a lot. So looking forward to test that one out. But this one, I just like that simple touch that it gives you. It looks cool. You got these new rims, 19 and 20 inch, that has a bit more aerodynamical look. And you can feel that torque from the twin turbo. It is strong, really, really strong. You can live on the higher gears without feeling that you need to shift down. And I mean, in a base model like this, that is great. Let's do a launch here. Launch control. It is, I mean, 3.9 seconds, 0 to 100. And a base 911 Carrera model. It's crazy. Still that sound, it is dampened a little, revs out to 7,500 RPM, and it's just flat on the ground. There is like no squirminess at all. Fantastic as always, but a lot more calm. It feels like it sits even more planted than before. You can feel before that it had a little unevenness that has always progressed and become better. But in this one, it's just planted. There is like no waving about at all at higher speeds. So they just perfect this one each time. It is marvelous. And you got new engine mounting, so it's a lot more rigid and it works a lot better. So it's more stable, and the chassis with the dampers are a lot more updated. So together with these 19 and 20 inch wide tires, well, it really gives you a more planted feel. If you go for the PASM as an option, the chassis sits 10 millimeters lower in this car. So it just becomes even better with these new dampers. We don't have the PASM optional on this one, but still, it feels a lot more flat. Yeah, you can get into sharp bends, but it is just there all the time, the grip. And these even wider tires, you can put it wherever you want along the road. These cars. And the brakes, they've been updated as well. You can get the ceramic brakes. We haven't got them on this one. And that mechanical grip through the corners, it just makes you so alive, but it doesn't stress you out because it's just there at your command every time. On that little input, every little millimeter of input in a car like this, where it comes to the brakes or the steering or just how you want to think for the next curve, well, everything is just calibrated and it takes you there without fuzz. It's rather incredible what grip these cars can deliver. This 992-2, well, it comes without a back seat. Now there is a back seat in this one, but it's at no extra cost. So just choose what you want there. Becomes a little heavier when you put that back in, but I just like it. I have kids, and for families, or when you just need to put some more stuff back in there, it's better to have that seat because you won't really feel the difference. But if you're really nerdy, well, then you can just go for a two-seater. And it's rather cool just having a two-seater. So as it comes, two-seater, well, that levels up the attitude a little. The new LED matrix headlight system, well, it's even better. 64,000 pixels reads out the roads and does auto-dimming when oncoming traffic is ahead. When you just push it, 7,500 RPM. You can hear it shouting, but it is rather dampened, the sound. You need to get up on the revs to really make it come alive. But it does come alive in the lower rev bound as well. But sure, you can feel that a little more power would be good, even though 394 horsepower will be more than well enough for most drivers. But the thing with power in these cars, well, it's always like this, that when you master most of the roads and you start setting it on the track, that's where you find it very interesting when it comes to power, because that's where you want more power. These cars, they have such good mechanical grip. There is no lack of that. So the only lack that there is, well, that is the lack of power. You want more power, but for the road, you have so much fun in this. The base models with Porsche and their base power, I just think that that is so well suited for country roads. And I think that is a lot more safe, especially if you want to become better if you never had a sports car like this before. Optional on this one is the park assist system. Gives you rear view camera. It gives you lane detection, curve detection, fatigue detection, and a lot more. So it's a lot of tech in this one. 1, 2, 3, and you're down in second. And there is no kick at all. And the brakes, as usual, the G-forces, they just becomes crazy. I think that the comfort in this new one is great. This glass on this one, it's better isolated, but at the same time, it saves some weight. So weight reduction there. But the comfort and this subtle type of feeling that it provides you with, it feels like a great cruiser. And maybe they're stepping a bit too far away from that more hardcore iconic feel in that way, but I like that it is a bit more on the comfy side, because you want to settle down, you want to use it as a day-to-day car, and when you really want to thrash it around, you do that without worrying that anything will go wrong. This automatic hydraulic lift system, you can go up to 35 kilometers an hour, and it lifts, and also you can program it so whenever you come to a certain bump, maybe where you live, it will automatically raise the nose a little. And in these base models, well, you can't really spin off because there's so much traction when the weight of that boxer engine lies flat on the rear tires, those new fat 20-inch rear tires. You can't spin off with this power. You need a lot more. You need 500 plus, or at least 450. But that's not what you do with a Porsche. In a Porsche, you keep the line and you keep it quick through that line. And then of course you also got the boost button here. For 20 seconds, it gives you some extra boost. Yep, you can feel some of that. Summarizing this car a little, The only thing is that I think it has become a little too much on the comfort side. It is a little too quiet. It is a little too unshaky. So the engine feels a lot more well-stuffed, well-placed, and better mounted, which it is. And I mean, for high-speed cornering, you can feel that there is a lot more calm. It feels a lot more planted. So in that regard, it is great. But there is that little urgency to it that makes it a bit nervous, that makes it a 911. And that, well, they're brushing that off more and more for each model that comes. It becomes a little easier to drive. And don't you want that? Well, most people want that, of course. But there needs to be something that an iconic driver of a 911 that is just as iconic can feel. And I think that's starting to fade away a little. Otherwise, it is just a magnificent machine.